Ready?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Cosmic Tea Hour 999. I'm here with very, very special people. Mr. Peter Mark, psychic astrologer, Miss Ash Banta from Enlightened Visions, and our special guest tonight, Mr. Dr. Scott Brunengraber. I am so excited to have Dr. Brunengraber with us. He is one of my best friends. I highly respect and adore him. He is on the leading edge of medicine, and he is here to talk to us tonight about his wisdom, his expertise, his experience. For those of you who did not see my Facebook post, one of the things I love most about Dr. Brunengraber is that he is not just the word doctor, he is the embodiment of doctor, always looking for adding on crucial things to his practice to always maximize the experience that each one of his clients has, myself being one of them. So whether you attend one of his classes, listen to one of his podcasts, or receive the treatment that he provides, you will feel how wonderful he is. So welcome, Dr. Brunengraber. I love you.
Thank you very much. With such a warm welcome, and I am honored to be on your podcast, and I cannot wait to be able to share with all of you tonight. That's great.
Excellent. So our first question that we have is, can you tell us about your practice and what you do and how did you get into it?
Oh, how long do we have?
Yeah, we have the whole.
So I always knew I wanted to be a healer, a doctor, and my personal experiences shaped the trajectory in which I undertook that path. So I thought I was going to be an OBGYN. I had one on my block. I thought it was really cool delivering babies. I just thought it was bringing life into the world. And, some injuries actually caused me to look at a different way to get healthy, to heal. And, my background, my family background was extremely medical, very pharmaceutical. And those things were not helping me. So I was literally carried into a chiropractor and I walked out. And that began my journey towards the more holistic and natural way to heal. And then it was my undergrad years at University of Buffalo where I went through a physical anthropology major. And for those listening, anthropology is not a wasted degree. You hear of degrees that are waste. It was amazing. I took ethnomedicine, I took medical anthropology, birth in 4 cultures. It was very cool what I was able to get at my alma mater. So that then started to really kind of change the way I need to look at healthcare. And the class about birth in multiple cultures was really eye-opening, because here I was in my back of my head, OBGYN, but there's also this holistic route. And I saw how different cultures currently, not historic, current cultures, all cared for the pregnant patient differently. And I was able to see how 2 European countries had completely different approaches, yet they're separated by a small body of water. And I'm talking about Sweden and Holland. And then I studied in Central America and down in Brazil. So I got to see different approaches, indigenous cultures, non-indigenous, European, non-European. And my eyes were opening more and more and more to, okay, maybe this Western medicine is not the end all be all that I kind of grew up thinking. And the chiropractic care that I went through, I started to look more and more into it. I had other contemporaries around me that were deciding on chiropractic as well. So I chose it as my way to be a doctor. And what I learned was how the body wants to heal itself. I never knew that. Like, if you asked me, I wouldn't have said, oh yeah, the body heals itself. You just got to get out of its way. And when you think about that, you're like, oh, that's pretty elementary. However, how many of us who grew up on multiple medications and had all different types of specialists in the medical field treat them or take care of them, that's not really, that doesn't come to, it's not the first logical thing you would think about. So the chiropractic degree really helped cement and anchor, like it really gave me the roots, the foundation for how I was going to practice professionally. And I like to say that chiropractic is the backbone of what it is that I do, you know, pun intended, no pun intended. And uh, it it taught me, chiropractic taught me how the body wants to heal. There is a central system, the nervous system, that interfaces with our environment, and if we can encourage that and get out of its way, we have an amazing capacity to heal. And what I learned in practice is that there are so many other things that the body has the body exists on like multiple planes. So, you know, we look at the physical body, but who's looking at the spiritual body, the emotional side? And that's how I kind of colored my practice. So it wasn't strictly chiropractic. I brought in some other adjuncts that complemented the chiropractic approach, and then refer and use other professionals in my community so that my patients can kind of utilize my office as their quarterback in the holistic world. And then there are other positions and there are other healers that are there to serve them where I don't. So, you know, and I'm humble enough to know that I'm not the end all be all. So, I did that kind of answer your question in a non end around way?
That did answer my question.
Awesome.
Before I ask my next question, I wanted to know if Peter or Ash had any questions for you.
Oh, sure.
The one thing that comes to mind, I was just curious. I'm sure. Are you familiar at all with Edgar Casey?
With who?
Edgar Casey.
No.
Okay, Edgar Casey actually was not medically trained in the medical field, but he would, from the guides, if you want to call it, he would channel modalities and panaceas for diseases and afflictions that people had, and he was highly respected in the medical community. But what I guess the question that I have for you, where do you see the medical field going as we know it versus where you want to go in your own private practice?
So I try not to attach myself to the medical movement. I know that I'm in healthcare, but no offense to the allopaths out there, the Western trained medical doctors. I felt that it was
Yes.
the reason why I chose the chiropractic. I felt that they had a short-sighted view of how to heal. I will say that it is a very commercially driven industry. You have some vanguard, entrepreneurial, great-minded healers within the medical profession, but the majority kind of follow a very top-down directive and how to practice. So I saw, like, okay, I graduated, to give you time frames. I was in grad school in the late 90s. So I graduated just before the turn of the millennia, right? And I saw an awakening happening. I saw more and more people embracing healthy foods, more and more people embracing acupuncture, turning to chiropractic, spiritual healing, the new age stuff that maybe made its appearance in the 60s and 70s and kind of died but came back. And I felt that the powers that be that drive the medical system, the traditional Western medical system, kind of saw that too and refocused their strength in trying to combat that. Because I was really hopeful in the early 2000s. It was looking really good. And there was a refocusing on prescription drugs, surgical procedures, things like that. So I see at the same time that the pharmaceutical industry is gaining power, as evidenced by COVID, right? And how much their stocks went up. I see simultaneously an awakening of more and more people being exposed. Things like these podcasts, which there are so many now, people talking publicly, where you're getting to help counter the brainwashing that is occurring and helping people awaken. So I see two kind of opposing views, all kind of making traction. Sadly, more people awakening, and yet other people kind of getting lulled into sleep. I do see the medical profession as embracing more and more. Get some feedback in here. I don't know
where that's coming from.
Okay. I see the medical profession embracing more Western, more holistic techniques. They're seeing shrinking reimbursements, and they're looking for different avenues for income. Now, money is a driver of many people.
Money is a driver, yes.
So you definitely see more integrative practices now, which is good, and also can be bad because some of them are quasi bastardized, really integrated practices. But again, if it gets more people to open their eyes, it's a good thing.
Sorry, I'm not sure where the feedback was coming from, if it was a phone or something.
Oh, I didn't know if it was on my side or you can hear it also.
It seems like it's coming through in the stream. So maybe it'll also go away on its own as well. I'm sorry to the people who are watching us. I'm going to prioritize us talking.
You know what? Teresa, mute yours for a second.
What's that?
Okay, Teresa, are you muted?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's still a little feedback.
There's still a little there.
All right.
I can run through and check everybody.
You can what?
Okay, talk. Peter, talk.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, there's a little bit Ash talk.
Yeah, it seems quite pronounced. So I'm not quite sure.
It's in the stream.
It's in the stream. Okay. I guess we have to continue and try to deal with it, correct?
It's continue and try to deal with it, or we can restart either way. Whatever is the agreeable thing.
Well, why don't you mute Peter and then Ash?
Okay.
Hi.
Okay.
Hi.
Yeah, it's one of those two.
Okay, so if we're talking right now,
unmute Ash. Okay. Ash.
Hi.
Hi.
It's coming from Ash, sadly.
How?
I don't know. Don't worry about it. It is what it is.
Do you have other screens open or another thing on?
No.
No, I think it's just part of the stream. Okay. All good. Well, Peter's muted right now. And there's a little bit less. So when I mute the both of them, then it's a little less. There we go.
Yeah, so then you can unmute when you're going to bring them on.
Yeah.
So they'll keep it clean. Okay.
Okay. So I just wanted to Peter's talking.
Say to you is I'm not dropping names for just the reason of dropping names. I had been on a show with the Dr. Bernie Siegel, who wrote many masters, many mansions. And he pretty much stated, and I wanted to find out your view, Scott, if you feel, because the more educated I became as a neophyte in the medical field, the more I felt that if I had a positive state of thinking, and if I treated my body as a temple of God, and I truly respected my body, the physical incarnation that I came in with, that through the process of positivity, that if I did succumb to an illness or any medical problems, that I could heal myself through the grace of God. And I apply that every time I become ill. And many holistic doctors that I've spoken to have said it's not the pill that heals you, it is the mindset and how you deal with the healing process. And I don't know if Hippocrates taught this in medical school, but I do believe that can people bring on illnesses through negative thinking and negative behavior. And I wanted to find out if you concur with that.
Oh, well, without a doubt. The you know, in the chiropractic profession, we have some amazing. We really are philosophical, and at our core, and the great one of the great original chiropractors, the son of the inventor of chiropractic, is Dr. B.J. Palmer, and he really brought chiropractic to the masses. And he wrote something called The Truth, and I have it hanging in my office. So if I can read it to you, and I think you'll get what chiropractors work with the subtle substance of the soul. We release the prisoned impulse, the tiny rivulet of force that emanates from the mind and flows over the nerves to the cells and stirs them into life. We deal with the magic power that transforms common food into living, loving, thinking clay that robes the earth with beauty and hues and scents the flowers with the glory of the air. In the dim, dark, distant long ago, when the sun first bowed to the morning star, this power spoke and there was life. It quickened the slime of the sea and the dust of the earth and drove the cell to union with its fellows in countless living forms. Through eons of time, it finned the fish and winged the bird, and it fanged the beast. Endlessly it worked, evolving its forms until it produced the crowning glory of them all. With tireless energy, it blows the bubble of each individual life and then silently, relentlessly dissolves the form and absorbs the spirit into itself again. And yet you ask, can chiropractic cure appendicitis or the flu? Have you more faith in a knife or a spoonful of medicine than in the innate power that animates the internal living world? And that is what we call, that's The Truth by Dr. B.J. Palmer. And I think that puts it all right there. It isn't, yes, he mentions chiropractic. And because we were trying as a profession to work with the power of the body, those of us as holistic healers, we're not outside in interventionists. We're trying to release the power from within. And we call that the inside out. You know, we would always say in chiropractic, from above down, inside out. So some people early on in chiropractic, extremely religious, pious people. Other people were very spiritual, just spiritually focused. So they're looking at the universe, the energy that kind of feeds us. And then other people call it God, and it animates us. So yeah, I absolutely concur with what you're saying, that if you can work with those kind of primal powers that really bring into existence life, yeah, you can heal yourself. You know, we're not born with an empty medicine cabinet that needs to be filled with, all the pills and potions. We look at it, as an outside intervention. And I think if more people respected their temple, like you put it, their physical vessel, and then worked on the spiritual, the emotional and mental, the chemical and environmental, as well as the physical, you can then exhibit life the way nature, God, Gaia intended. And I think if more people followed that, or at least tried to approach their life with that kind of background, or at least that kind of thought process, you'd have a much healthier society, you know?
Yeah,
Agreed.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I just wanted to
Absolutely.
interject because I feel extra privileged that at the wellness center that Dr. Brunengraber owns, I was able to manage for a little while, being his front end and notes and things. And I got some really pivotal firsthand experiences. I've been his patient. I got into a car accident. That's how we met. And he got me from
Mhm.
not being so great to perfect. I got a work-related injury. I came in limping into his office, and then he brought me right back to perfect. So I've had his experience, and Ash and I just did another podcast talking about my most recent car accident. And Dr. B again was my first call to be like, I'm time for here, lucky number 3. And immediately, let's take some magnesium. Let's support the brain. Let's support the body. So I just wanted to share some of the things that I was privileged to see that really mean the most to me. And it's kind of like snippets of memories, like a mother coming in 2-3 days fresh from the hospital with her newborn in tow, and Dr. Brunengraber adjusting this newborn baby. This geriatric couple that comes in, and she speaks French, and she's teaching me French, and she's not as nimble as she'd like to be, but Dr. B very lovingly, nurturingly helping her get onto the table and keeping them going, keeping her going. A gentleman, many times that we had patients come in that say, well, my so-and-so has scheduled me out for surgery, and with some questions and asking and adjustments saying, well, surgery might be your option, but let's see what we can do otherwise. And Dr. B taking them from zero. And I don't want to, I know it's Dr. B and source, God, their own body, their power. I'm not trying to disempower anyone, but watching those individuals go from I need surgery to I'm 110%. And I didn't know that was possible without intervention. So, and, learning through classes that we did together after hours where we would teach about greens and nutrition and what does the body really need, and the very detail oriented to the large concept ideology, he could take anyone from 0 to 60 and explain, we need X amount of servings of greens per day, and it should be this, and some of it should have fiber, and some of it should be not. There is a true expertise that comes with walking into his office. And one of the things that is also most impactful to me is seeing how he assists in the special needs community, whether it is an allergy, helping children and families who have children with ADHD or autism or special needs or developmental delays, and giving them an option. Because the school and a lot of various sources say medicine is it, and now here's your medicine of being young, but there's side effects to that. Some of which of those side effects you don't want to take on, but what is the choice? What is the alternative? And what I love most is seeing that there is a very excellent alternative that okay, take red dye 40 out, give them some fish oil. By the way, your kid is allergic to cold cuts, and that's triggering off the brain, and if you supplement and you put together, and you see a child that comes in bouncing off the walls, barely able to contain themselves, they change the diet, they stop giving the child cold cuts, they stop with the red dye 40, they add some fish oil, they add in some magnesium, they add in adjustments, and within a very I'd say relatively short window of time for this, you see a whole different child and family dynamic emerge where they didn't know that was possible before.
And you
And all
notice,
these things. Sorry.
no, I didn't mean to even interrupt. I wanted to add to that. And you notice the things you all mentioned, they're all man-made creations that are interfering with the normal healing of the body. Most of what we have to do as healers is reverse the crap that's being put on us by the modern world.
Absolutely.
And all of that is interfering with I don't want to use the word normal, but that natural expression of life. We call it the innate intelligence. So innate intelligence, you have universal intelligence, which are basically the laws of the universe and the laws of life. Innate intelligence is how now you incorporate that and express life. And
Right.
we're a very intelligent group of systems, the human species. And, people don't realize, even something as, non-desirous as a tumor is a response to something.
Mhm.
It's
Right.
not necessarily just because something is wrong. It's because your environment and the way your body exists in your environment is now running counter to what brings about health. And the body is trying to find a workaround. It's trying to adapt. And we are now in a society where we're constantly adapting. So we're surviving but not thriving. And that special needs child or developmentally delayed person that you spoke about just before, they could have some concrete genetic issues going on. However, how many of those people is their environment not conducive to healing? And it's not an easy situation. So, bringing up that subset of patients, you have a very stressed situation. The family is stressed, the individual is stressed, the system doesn't know how to properly address the needs of that individual. It's a cluster expletive, and and now we're trying to remove. It's akin to removing a beaver dam. Your farmland's not getting the water from the river because a couple of beavers decided to dam it up, right? So if
Right.
you remove that beaver dam, are you the genius, or is it the natural force that allows the river to
That's of
flow?
course.
That's the beauty. You just remove the interference, that dam, that blockage. I remove interference from what's blocking man the spiritual and man the physical from connecting and expressing themselves.
Yeah, I wanted to share a quick story about chiropractic medicine with you. I'm older than everybody here. I grew up in the 60s and I was born with ADHD, dyslexia, the whole gamut. And my parents brought me to a very skilled chiropractor that was recommended to them. And one of the doctors that recommended a chiropractor to me was the Queen of England's doctor when she traveled to New York. And I went to the doctor. Doctor did a lot of testing and manipulation and everything else. And he said, the first thing I want you to do, take Peter off of all sugars. I want him taken off sugars, and I want you to bring him in once a week, put him on a special diet. Believe it or not, when they took me off of sugar, because the doctor was so well knowledgeable at that time in holistic healing, I gradually, in a year, I made up for 3 years in school, and I was able to, because of this doctor and his brilliance in being a prognostician, I was able to go on to college and graduate. So, my faith in chiropractic medicine and holistic medicine is quite different than my belief in materia medica and where the orthodox medicine is today. So
No, and that's great that they were able to help it intervene early enough
yes,
so that you weren't coming as a dysfunctional 24-year-old. And right now we're seeing like it's of an epidemic proportion. We have
how
yeah.
I wanted to ask you, has the attitude in the medical field changed over the years from
Oh yeah.
doctors, MDs, how
Yeah.
they, because when I grew up, chiropractors were considered not so respected
No, I know
because
it's like a
the
four-letter word.
absolutely.
Yeah. No, I mean, is it 100% accepted? No. Uh, do many of the younger doctors coming out, they were embracing it more quickly. There's been a little bit of a regression, I think, of the newer graduates coming out. They're just clueless. They don't even know.
They don't
Um,
know.
the quality of the doctor coming out now is more of a regurgitator of information and not
Mhm.
the free thinking adaptive doctor that we saw
Yes.
emerge out of the 90s and 80s and 70s. And I mean, even before, they were very critically thinking. Right now, they don't want it as much. So the battle might be more of they don't know what we are, and there's not as much of a collective like like they're not necessarily in medical school being told don't ever refer to a chiropractor like they used to, you know. Um, so that's gotten better. Where the challenge is in our society, the medical doctor is the authority when it comes to all things health, sickness, disease, illness.
Yes.
So because they're the authority, people are going to look to them first. And there are people that will not sway from that. I mean, look at COVID. People took some very stupid directives from up on high and wouldn't veer from them out of fear and respect for the authority, even when they ran counter to logic and reason. So I think that's the challenge, is getting the complementary healthcare world to elevate its position of authority, you know,
Mhm.
and chiropractic being the largest number of alternative healthcare providers, like we're seen as like the tip because we're, of that movement, that spear, just because of the sheer number. But we still don't even, we pale in comparison when it comes to true cultural authority.
Mm.
And I think that's what needs to change. And that just only when more and more people speak up for what they want, then
Or
that'll,
become aware of it for what
yeah,
they want. Which I'd like to segue into, because there's other things in this tool belt that you have that we didn't even mention yet, such as you have nutrition that is part of it. And there was some discussion between Peter and I. We were segueing one thing into the other with this conversation. So you have nutrition and you have BEST, and BEST is the acronym for Biological Energetic Synchronization Technique. And it's I had no idea it was even available until I joined into your practice, and I wanted to know if you could touch on that, and then we can segue into
sure,
nutrition.
sure. So bioenergetic synchronization technique, it was actually discovered by a chiropractor who was a chemist before
Mm.
he was a chiropractor. And then, with such an in depth knowledge of the chemical world and the physical and neurological world with
Mhm.
chiropractic, he still realized there was a missing component. And he realized there was an emotional component and a spiritual component to how our neurophysiology works. And it's bioenergetic synchronization technique, or BEST, removes that energetic interference, that blockage that is allowing the normal exchange of us just being in existence. You have some people might know of Dr. Goodhart and applied kinesiology. His work was born out of Dr. Mortar and the best work. So
Mhm.
uh, we as a profession, through Dr. Mortar's vanguard intelligence and intuition, realized that there is a way that the body can kind of communicate, and the way the body reacts to its environment. And in its most basic interpretation, you're trying to identify what is keeping the neurophysiology in a fight or flight state. What is not vibing? What is interfering and blocking the body from homeostatically expressing health? Identify those, neutralize those, allow the neurophysiology to continue. So part of that, it's you have someone's emotional or what they're thinking. So it could be conscious or subconscious. You have um, people who they're actually thinking of their body themselves. They're thinking of people with physical ailments. Their thought process of just their physical body could be throwing them into fight or flight. So now it's caught in this like the tail, a vicious cycle. It's a positive feedback loop. This causes this, which then begets this, which then makes this worse. So the person never is able to break out of that and escape that. You also have people's belief systems, and you have the physical components and what the physical body itself. So what Dr. Mortar did with Best is he found different pathways, different thought processes. We give the patient different directives to establish like a neutralization to the fight or flight response. So, like in psychology, there's something called a memory engram. And a memory engram is when the mind kind of codes a situation as potentially dangerous, as potentially harmful, so as to kind of kick in the survival instinct. So now, because of just the way we are, we're not the lower animal. We're a very high brain function animal.
Yeah.
So we start to incorporate our feelings, our past experiences, our fears into this whole neurology. Whereas like the example I bring up is like National Geographic Channel. You're watching the antelope bound across the savannah. A lion comes across, tries to nail that antelope. It goes across a river. The lion doesn't want to cross the river. The antelope doesn't sit there and dwell on the idea that there was a lion chasing it. It probably goes poop in the corner and goes about grazing on grass. A human would sit there and be looking behind every rock going, is there a lion? Is there a lion? There's a lion. I know there's a lion somewhere. So that's just one example. So now that gets coded. And now we can't ever talk, like, let's say the smell of almond flowers was in the air. Your brain might have coded almond essence as being a fight or flight response because of potential danger from a lion. So now if your brain can't neutralize that, that becomes one example out of a lifetime of improperly kind of memory coded events. So we want to neutralize those, like peeling back the onion one layer at a time so that the body can exist in a non-fight or flight state, removing that interference. And where nutrition comes in, because of his heavy involvement in the chemistry, in biochem, he understood, Dr. Mortar, that we have to provide correct nutrition, or we're going to give the body a chemical reason why it is maladaptive. And you know what I mean? So it was filling the gaps in the chiropractic world for where we saw, where there was a need. And now fast forward, this was probably what, the late 50s when he started this work. Now go look at you look at Dr. Mortar's best work from the mid 50s on through the 60s and 70s, and you'll see a lot of commonality with a lot of the holistic arts, because he was really vanguard in that thinking. And so was Dr. Weston Price. If we're talking about nutrition, for those who don't know, Dr. Weston Price was a dentist from the early 1900s. And he was on the money when it came to proper nutrition and proper care for the human frame. So, there have been people over time. And then this awakening occurred, in the 60s and 70s with we spoke about like New Age and this a desire to learn and expand the thinking from just chemistry and pharmaceuticals, right? And so the nutrition, as far as my practice goes, I recognize that if you don't have, and this was from the founder of chiropractic, Dr. Didi Palmer, toxins, traumas, and thoughts. He said these 3 T's. If you don't address them, like, what are we doing? So I could adjust someone till the cow comes home. The cows come home. but then we're not, we're really not looking at things holistically. I want to know what Ash wants to ask me.
I've been waiting. I've been patiently waiting.
You have been.
Yeah. Okay. So my question is, you said at the beginning of the show that the body doesn't just exist in this physical plane. It exists in multiple dimensions, right? Different planes. So when I view healing, so when I'm looking at someone, because when people think as the body, they think as a physical, like you have to fix the physical. But then you said, you have to look from the inside out. And so it answered one of my questions, because when I view someone, I view them as like they're sitting on like a pedestal, and the body, like their body is like standing there, but it's not their physical body. It's like an x-ray. And then you look at the energetic fields inside of the body. So for you, I was wanting to see what you thought as what you meant, or explain to the audience what you meant energetically, like not just physical, but energetically, when you said that they exist in this, like different planes.
So I look at it from, I recognize that there are components to our existence that we don't quite yet understand. And I'm okay with that. That took me years, because I was always this type, like, show me concretely, show me the proof, show me this. And that's not how life works, right? But we do know everything is energy. Your atoms resonate at a frequency. So at the very, like, if you're someone who's all like, I hate this term, but evidence-based, all atoms are resonating at a frequency. You could either have them in harmony, or they're going to be disjointed and they're not going to be in harmony, right? Then you could look at the quantum level, and that's really where life comes from, right? Like for the science geeks out there, the boson-Higgs particle, the life, they call it the God particle. This is something we're discovering in science that's explaining this whole nother plane of existence. And all those things, for me, as someone who came from a very scientific background, that enabled me to almost have the equivalent of like, let go, let God. You heard that expression, let go, let God. But as a very scientifically minded person, I started to see how there are things in science that are proving, or at least demonstrating, the existence of different planes of existence and different dimensions. I don't operate purposely in different dimensions. I'm here on this plane of existence. I try to, I am not that trained, but there, when people want that type, like when people resonate, for lack of a better word, with that type of work, I try to find other providers who are like into that and have some type of expertise in that. The bioenergetic synchronization is almost the best marriage of taking the neurophysiological geek and marrying them with the energetic spiritual geek. So, and it works for me. It works for who I applied for. And then I also recognize that there are other things that need addressing that I don't necessarily address.
Well, with the time, sorry to interrupt you, Peter.
Go ahead.
With the time we have left, I do have some questions for Peter, because Peter has a book that's been published, and there are some questions here that I have for him that I thought of while we were talking about this, that I would like, instead of just answering my questions about them, he could answer people in general's questions about them, because we do have quite a bit of viewers who are here with us tonight. In addition to that, Dr. Brunengraber, if anyone has a question, a comment, would like a service consultation with you, how can they get in contact with you?
Well, my main office number is, you could phone or text. So people send me texts. When I'm on my radio show, I give out the number and people text it. So, they can reach me that way at 631-361-9355. They can go on the web at smithtownwellness.com. And I hope to be launching my radio website that's dedicated just for the radio show, which will be bettereverydayradio.com, but that's not quite live yet. So yeah, feel free. They could text me and say, I was on Teresa's 999 podcast, and say, I have these questions. I was listening, you interacting with Ash and Peter Marks, and I welcome any and all questions. I love it. Doctor means to teach. A true meaning of a doctor is to teach, not to treat. So
I love that.
that's how I was educated. Yes.
So while you're here, Peter has created a book called, is it the Astrology Cookbook, Peter? Oh, I can't see it.
The Gourmet Cookbook for Astrology Lovers.
Oh,
I don't know. It's not
I can see that
yet.
you're holding something, but I can't see with the background that you're holding the book.
Background. Yeah.
Yeah, something. It's not quite. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
So I know that in previous podcasts I had touched on that you had written this book, but the questions I had now were, when you were creating the book and you made recipes per sign, how did you create these recipes per sign?
All right. Well, the answer is going to be, it's kind of serendipitous, but it's also kind of shocking. At the time, I don't know if anybody knows her, Felicia Bastiani is a very famous chef on public TV. And I had the privilege of working with one of the top food critics in the country, Bob Lape. And I was introduced to Felicia, and I told her that I wanted to write a book. And she said, when you're ready, let me know, and I will assist you in any way. So what I wanted to say is the book is astrological, but I also spoke with holistic practitioners. And I went out and I started asking people who I met that were different signs, their food proclivities or preferences. And then I worked with a very well-known remote viewer from Washington who was the co-author of the book. What we found out, to our surprise, is that astrology is over 2,000 years old. It predates the Babylonian time in the Bible. And what I found out was that the planets are ruled by specific, the signs are ruled by specific planets. Angela and I did extensive research on perfect example. If you're a Scorpion, you're going to want food to some degree that is very energetic, very energetic. You're going to want protein. I mean, I'm not a dietitian and I'm not a doctor and I'm not going to profess to be, but each sign has specific foods. Another thing is, I'm a Capricorn. We're very traditional with the foods that we eat. Hamburgers and hot dogs, which today, if they're not properly prepared and they're not kosher, I wouldn't even go to them. But each sign in the book, we've done extensive research on, and it ended up being released on March 22nd of 2023, and it hit #1 on Amazon.
Oh, wow.
So
I'm in Aries, so I just want to know, why do I love tacos so much?
Well, Aries are dynamic people. I looked at your chart, and you'll try anything once for the challenge of it.
But mostly, yeah, I have said no to some things, but yes.
All right, but you want foods that give you energy. You want foods that give.
Yeah, energy.
Correct?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah. I guess the more boring foods I tend to not want to,
Right. Well, Aries tend to be challenged by the food that they don't always eat healthy, but they love foods that they can put into their body and get They're the warriors in astrology. They're the pioneers. Aries are the ones that if you ask them a question, they won't they won't ask somebody else the answer. They're determined to find out all the information that there is available, and then they're going to tell you and teach you how to apply it.
Well, it
So
seems fair. Yeah.
you're the pioneer. But so anyway, the gourmet cookbook for astrology lovers is on the market, and I've received a lot of. If you go to Amazon, you'll see all the little tidbit writings that people have prepared the foods and they're enjoying the cooking.
Now, my next question is, when you look at our natal chart, we
Yes,
have multiple signs in multiple places. So, say
yes.
if I am a Pisces sun with a Taurus moon, could I go to both chapters and benefit from it, or is it strictly based on sun signs?
No, unlike Linda Goodman, who was a very famous astrologer, if you take your sun sign and your moon and if they're congruent with one another, yes, you can read the chapter on your sun sign and then also read a chapter on the moon sign. You can collaborate those and you'll find out the cuisine is to your palate. So
Okay. And what if they are
absolutely.
not? What if they're not in
You
harmonious
call it
placement?
chiropractor.
Fair enough.
They
I happen to
straighten
have a
you
great one
out.
on deck, so no worries. I'll be fine. And Peter, just
That's
to
funny.
round out our entire show, we were
Yeah.
also talking before we started about the astrology that's going on right now. And there is some big
Yes.
stuff going on. Can you tell us what's affecting us right now?
What's affecting us right now, and I'm fighting it myself, astrologically, we have several planets in retrograde. And the planets that we have right now, and I'm going to lower my voice because I tend to yell and I don't know why. Um, we've got Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto all in retrograde, which is causing energies to appear to go backwards. The biggest issue that we're dealing with is Pluto, which is an outer planet, has been in the sign of Aquarius, and that's been helping elevate our thinking to a much higher level. I'm sure everybody here is familiar with Nikola Tesla. Um, and I am fascinated by Nikola Tesla's background. But the one thing I was going to allude to, he always talks about energy, frequency, and vibration. And as the doctor brilliantly stated, we are energy. We're not just physical. We're not in the physical incarnation. We are here, but we also have an etheric, spiritual energy body, and that etheric body is the body that really is controlled in part by the energy that the planets are giving off. So the big answer to your question is we were much higher at a vibration a couple of weeks ago, and it shifted when Pluto went back into Capricorn. A lot of people are depressed. A lot of people are calling me and telling me that they're having psychological issues. And the biggest issue, and I know now who to refer them to, our doctor, a lot of people are calling me and they're saying that they're having problems with their bones and their body because Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, and Saturn rules the body and our skin. So a lot of people right now are going through readjustment, and it's not easy. But I know the perfect doctor that will, and I mean that in
Thank
all
you.
sincerity.
Thank you.
Yeah,
And this
yeah.
is all
So
new. This is all like I have clients, patients who are into astrology, and I don't know much about it. I know that Scorpios tend to be a little feisty, you know, and
Very, very, very pricey.
Like very. Maybe it's just the way Aries reacts with Scorpios, but I have to be careful around those. And I know Geminis are a little or they're like the embodiment of ADD.
I actually have a Gemini interception in my chart. And when I studied astrology, I realized what was going on. A true quick story. I went to my doctor years ago after getting certified in astrology and going through tests. And I asked my doctor if I could have his birth date. And at the time, he thought I was a little, off. And I went into the office and I actually was telling him about his chart. I've never seen my doctor turn bright red so quickly. And he looked at me and he nodded. He wouldn't answer any of the questions that I presented to him. But on the way out, he said to me, "You nailed me."
Wow, that's great.
So, but truthfully, I think between chiropractic medicine and the pseudosciences of what they consider astrology and numerology, I applaud you because I have found in my own experience when I go to doctors, I don't seem to get well. They tell me to go home and take a pill. When I go to a chiropractor and after going through the manipulation and going through the energy changes, I walk out and I feel like $1 million.
Yeah, definitely.
I agree. I think if more people could address some root cause things, we'd have a much healthier and happier group of people around
Well,
us.
Ash, darling, we can't leave off with this much level of silence with you. So now you have to
Absolutely.
compensate for the entire podcast and talk about your weekend, your experiences, your thoughts and feelings. You have to give your fair share.
Okay. So, I have been anxiously waiting to go to New York. I always said that I was never going to go. And then I met the fabulous Teresa, and she was like, "You have to come to New York one day." And then Femme Powered came about, and I just knew that I needed to do that. I knew it was going to be special and that I needed to be there. So Friday, I get to New York and I actually met the first thing that I did was go meet Dr. Scott.
I'm honored.
Literally right off the plane.
Welcome to New York.
Right. I have to take you to our leader. Come on. No.
By the way, the energy there like really messed with me that whole day. Like I was exhausted, but I was also like, it felt like a whirlwind. Like it was crazy.
We don't have the most relaxing of energy vortices on the planet. It's definitely
I know.
It's something.
She got here. She's like, "I'm definitely not home. I know that much."
We're not in Kansas anymore.
No.
Or Kentucky.
She's like, "I'm gonna stay the whole weekend, but come Monday, I'm gonna click my heels 3 times and I'm out of here."
She was like, "Is Monday around yet?"
Oh, but you know what? Like, regardless, it was so beautiful. Teresa and I got tattoos together, and then Saturday we had such an amazing event where we did somatic dancing, somatic healing, crystal healing. Like there was a lot of things that was brought in, things that I never did. And when we walked into Jessica's house, it was like a dream come true because here in Kentucky, we don't have things like that. And so when I walk in, there's this beautiful Peruvian. Is that how you say it?
Yes,
Peruvian woman. Yeah, standing there. And she's got like these feathers like saging and like music's going and all of these mats are laying down and pillows. And I mean, it was just I was like, oh, I never thought I'd ever get to do this. So that was very beautiful. And then, I mean, I could just go on and on. It was just so magical. I went through so many shedded layers of energetic vortices, I guess is how you say it. Like, that's what I felt like. I felt like I broke down so many layers of stagnant energy that I didn't even know that I had. Things coming out of my throat, my heart opening, my like meeting. I mean, I felt like I was like floating in multiple dimensions at all times. It was beautiful. They made the best food, mind you. I would never eat that kind of food because I'm a sugar girl. But they made the best food, and I was like, I couldn't believe, but I loved it. It did take me 3 days to drink a shake that had spinach in it.
She goes, oh, I don't like spinach. And I said, oh, okay, I'll leave it out in the shake for you. She goes, no, I feel like I need to break down this wall and try to drink something with spinach in it. You said it tastes good. Let me try it. And that was like almost like the ear marker or keynote of the entire weekend was, I've never done it before, or I have an idea about what it is, but let me be open-minded and try it. And the first sip of this shake she takes, she goes, okay, I like it. I'll drink it. I promise you I'll drink it by the end of the weekend. And then when we were at Dr. B's house, Dr. B's house, well, pretty much the wellness center is your house. When we went to Dr. Brunengraber's center, it was really nice to see the two of them together, because we say Ash is the Teresa of Kentucky all the time. And, to bring these two beautiful minds together and ask questions and have the conversations. I said, hey, we can meet Dr. B. We're going to interview him on Monday. You get to meet him in person. And there is always a connection quality that comes from meeting someone in person as opposed to on a screen. And Saturday really was magical, and it was wonderful to see, because Ash walked in and her whole person, you could just tell her whole person was taking in the entire experience. She was enamored by everything walking in, and she sits down and she just smiles, and she's so bright. She goes, this is like, I've always wanted this, but it was never available anywhere else. This is incredible.
Well, now you'll have to make it.
Jessica loved her. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
So we had a great experience. Fempowered was very powerful. The layers that were taken through, it was unexpected for everyone who participated, but it really went to like she said, soul levels, dimensions, healing that people didn't anticipate, and yet it happened because of the energy that was in the space. And then by the time Sunday came, we were just like so tired from Friday and Saturday, but still we were experiencing all these different fluctuations, and with us being together, it really enhanced the energy that we were feeling, navigating, going through. By the time she got back on the plane, I felt like I had been like Friday, Saturday, Sunday was so intense that by the time Monday came, I was like, I'm going to take a nap. I'm just going to relax a little bit before we get to the next thing. Okay.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It was great communicating with all of you.
I'm so glad that we were all able to come together for this time. If anybody has any questions, wants a reading, or has looking for any kind of assistance, Peter, Ash, and I all have our information on our Instagram page, CosmicTeaHour999. It's also available on our YouTube. Dr. Brunengraber did give his information earlier, but I will make a post about his information on both locations so that you can find him if you need him. But his center is called Smithtown Wellness. Everything from, allergies, nutrition. He's wonderful. We love him so much. I love you. You're a fantastic doctor and a wonderful friend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Love you too. Love to all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for being such a wonderful guest.
Oh,
yes.
My
Yeah, we
pleasure.
will also have Angela Ford coming on in the next oncoming weeks. She did talk to us on a different podcast, episode 4, with remote viewing, but we did have a high demand to have Angela come back, and we're super excited to deep dive into her remote viewing experiences. We do have some exceptional guests behind Dr. Brunengraber that we are very excited to announce to you guys. So next week, stay tuned, and we'll let you know who's going to be on the show next. And have a wonderful Monday through Friday. Talk to you guys later.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.